Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Newsfist. Tonight, some spooky speculation, some weird happenings in the world. As you may or may not be aware, there is a blood moon today. Ooh, very, very spooky. Yes, the moon is all red like blood on literally the same day as the US elections. Oh my god, it's QAnon's all up in my business. He's like telling me, three branches will become one. A fart will sing out in the night. Large bronze penises will walk around and talk with each other. It's going to be amazing. Where we go one, we go all. And, a storm is coming and we will all go into the storm and all that kind of happy horse shit. It's going to be glorious. Look, everybody loves a good omen, right? It's deep in the human psyche to be like, strange Grugsy, strange light in sky. Strange light in sky brings weird portents. I don't know. I'm not really sure whether it's a thing or not. I know that some people really, really believe in omens. I kind of, I don't know. For me, they're more like the kind of stuff that I used to really enjoy, watching about conspiracy videos. I don't know whether any of you watching used to enjoy watching conspiracy videos back before literally everything went to hell, and suddenly watching that kind of content was considered, edgy and dangerous because people might actually start thinking about it in the real world, and it seemed to point to some much more significant stuff. No, yes, back in the 90s. Oh, it was lovely. You just watch a bunch of random stuff about conspiracies and, just sort of had a bit of a conceptual think about it. And, there wasn't really much to link it to the real world. However, we will try and do some of that today. Now, of course, the US elections are going on literally at the moment. I'm not sure if the polls have closed by the time this comes out. I may do a video on it, but there are many, many much greater YouTubers than myself already covering this. I don't know. I guess, hopefully, with any luck, the election will be announced in a proper and smooth manner, and there will be no, massive delays that will start causing people to wonder whether there is not some kind of honkening or fortification or some kind of other shady business going on, which, of course, is completely untrue. Since this video will be going up on YouTube, I am obliged to say that this absolutely never, ever happens, and to even suggest such a thing is very, very dangerous misinformation, right? Right, you've been told. Anyway, on to the random speculation. So, according to some random website I found, spiritualityhealth.com, a truly, truly momentous source. Who hasn't gone to spiritualityhealth.com for their information? I know I have. When I was, researching for my dissertation, they were like, don't use Wikipedia. Spiritualityhealth.com is the place to go. So, of course, I went there and, looked up what a blood moon is all about. Has a spiritual meaning throughout history. The ancient Incans and Mesopotamians, blessed with their ancient knowledge, believed the blood moon was an omen portending death and the overthrow of the king. QAnon is all back. Some native tribes believe the blood moon meant that the moon needed care. Or possibly the moon had its period. Is the moon trans? Does the moon have a womb? Is there a womb in the moon? A man in the moon, a woman in the moon. Is it transphobic to say there is a man in the moon? So many goddamn questions. If the moon is bleeding, is it sad? Who cut it? These are the questions that we need answers. Islamic cultures view the phenomenon as a time for special prayers, and I believe there is also a big Jewish prophecy about the blood moon, or 4 blood moons in a row. It's called a tetrad or something. I don't know. It's a bit complex. But, there's all this religious stuff. Now, I particularly like, because I'm doing this video, the idea of the portending the death and overthrow of the king. And on a completely unrelated note, Evelyn de Rothschild died yesterday, aged 91. The financier and philanthropist who helped unite Britain and France, arms of the famous banking dynasty, and was one of the Queen's financial advisors, passed away peacefully at home. Well, as long as he didn't die suddenly. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? From the Financial Times, of course. British financier Evelyn de Rothschild dies aged 91. The businessman expanded the family bank and advised late Queen Elizabeth on financial matters. Yes, indeed, he was a big shot. Now, the thing about the Rothschilds is that, depending on who you ask, They are either a sort of much maligned, just kind of really insignificant banking family, who used to have some influence, but now, no one really cares about them very much. They're just a, small sort of banking family. No one really cares about them. Or they are basically the head of the financial Illuminati. Now, the truth may be somewhere in between. It does certainly seem that the Rothschilds themselves very much do not like people saying that they run the world. Despite the fact that they have had an incredible impact on world events. Not only was there the incident where the Rothschilds banking family sort of pioneered correspondent banking. The story goes that Amschel Rothschild sent his 5 sons to the 5 different banking centers in Europe, and they pioneered the idea of, instead of actually carrying gold from one major city to another, simply sending letters between them. And so if you deposited a bunch of money in Frankfurt and then you went to London, all you needed to carry was the letter from the Rothschild Bank, and they would give you your gold in London. Then you'd have to carry the gold on you and risk getting mugged. And this was like a precursor to modern banking. It was like an awesome thing. However, this correspondent network also allowed the Rothschilds tremendous power. The story goes that when the Battle of Waterloo happened, the final battle between Napoleon and the British, the Rothschilds found out a full day before the British government due to their incredible correspondence network, and they had spies or operatives at the actual battlefield. This allowed the Lord Rothschild of the time to spread a bunch of rumors saying that the British had lost. And when everyone panic sold, the Rothschilds bought up everything at bargain basement prices. And then, of course, when it came through that the British had won, the value of all those assets spiked, and they made a fuckload of money. A very George Soros kind of move in the day before Soros existed. Now, they like to say that, the Rothschilds funded both sides of wars, and indeed it is true that the Rothschilds did do a lot of lending to countries at war. The conspiracy theory goes that the Rothschilds would deliberately provoke these wars in order to lend money to both sides of a conflict, allowing them to then pick the winner by basically changing the amount of credit that they gave to each side. Wars are horribly expensive, and if your loan money suddenly gets cut off, you can't, fund your army anymore. If you're lending to both sides of a war, and you lend one significantly more money, you're going to be able to pick the outcome. And then they could speculate on the outcome of this war. Now, supposedly, the Rothschilds, they didn't do that anymore. Yes, even the Daily Mail points this out. The financial dynasty of the Rothschilds was started by his great-great-great-grandfather in the late 18th century, who helped finance the Duke of Wellington's victory over Napoleon in the 1815 Battle of Waterloo. They do not mention the fuckery that resulted afterwards. However, by the 20th century, the family's influence had started to wane, with European countries relying more on American banks to finance both world wars against Germany. So there is an explicit admission that they basically got their start financing wars. Now, that is neither here or there. I guess if a war's got to be fought, someone has to fund it. However, it is also significant to note that the Rothschilds were instrumental, nay, essential to the founding of the modern state of Israel via the Balfour Declaration. The Balfour Declaration was a letter written from Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour to Lord Rothschild, who was at the time the leader of the British Jewish community, for the formation of a Zionist state, essentially, in Palestine. Now, this action was to go on and to have many, many knock-on effects. So, for example, the National Socialists believed that it was this that brought America into the war, and thus why Germany was defeated in World War I. And this would go on to be a major reason why the National Socialists were so salty against the Jews later on in their rise to power for the Second World War. There has also been some suggestion that the Rothschilds basically, from the founding of Israel, have run, the country. This, for example, is a picture of the Israeli Supreme Court. They really do seem to love the eye in the pyramid thing, which of course has given rise to speculations about the Illuminati and all of this kind of stuff. So the question is, was Rothschild the king? The hidden king? that was felled that is the symbol of the blood moon? And if so, who or what will rise to take his place? Was the death sudden or expected? I mean, he was 91. You would expect him to be dying pretty soon. I'm sure that there were many things in place to ensure succession. How can we know? If it was unexpected, will this possibly put a crimp in the financial system, given that the markets, generally speaking, are taking a massive dump at the moment? So many questions, so few answers. If you have any answers of your own, any comments, please comment below. Leave a like, subscribe, send us some library coins, and all that happy stuff. We will see you again soon. Good night.